Good morning and welcome back to Child Psychology. Today we're talking about Chapter 15. We're continuing our exploration of adolescence, and today we'll talk about the cognition part of adolescence. Let me remind you, we were just talking about the physical development in adolescence. So we're really piggybacking, making that connection. Remember how I talked about the connection between the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex, and how that affects adolescent decision making. And so, as we've seen already with Piaget's theory, in particular of cognitive development, we've gone really from not socio, excuse me, from the sensory motor kind of thinking where we're connecting movement and sense. We've start to internalize thinking to operational. We've looked at concrete operational thinking where we really are starting to experience the world around us inside here. We don't actually have to be there. We can do it in here. Yet we call those that last period there concrete operational in adolescence in particular, and I think before adolescence nowadays, at least we get started with this, but this is the time in our lives where we'll really start to master what we'll call the formal operational thinking, where what we're internalizing in our minds is not so much the things that we can experience sensually, that's the concrete things, but we'll start to understand concepts, abstract concepts, and we'll call this formal operations because they're abstract concepts. The difference between a concrete concept and a concept that's formal or abstract is the formal ones, they follow the rules. If it if it's furry, it has a tail and whiskers and claws that can get, I don't know what you call it, but back into their limbs, then we could might call that a cat because there's rules. However, with formal operations, there's no one definition of any concept that's formal. In order to communicate about it, we have to be able to say, this is what I think, that's what you think, and this is how we'll meet in the middle here. Let me give you an example. Have you ever had someone say to you, I love you, and you think, no, you don't? Then that is a formal concept, love, because you know what it is, the other person knows what it is, and you could both honestly be basing your behavior on your definitions. But if they're different definitions, then you're not going to see that love from the other person. So love is a formal concept. Now, in adolescence, we're really dealing with all these kinds of issues, and we're mastering the ability to define and to communicate and to compromise and all that kind of thing. This is also the time where cognitively we kind of revisit, maybe I would say, but like 2 or 3 years old kind of thinking. Remember talking about egocentrism. Well, adolescent egocentrism revisits this idea that what I'm thinking is what everybody knows, and what is important to me is important to everybody. This is why you occasionally get like the imaginary audience. I have to have my hair perfect because everyone is going to be talking about me. As an adult, I think back, I think, my goodness, I really don't care about my hair. Well, I don't have much anyway, but some of that because it doesn't matter. And I know that most people don't care about stuff like that. Well, see, as an adolescent, because you care about it, everybody has to care about it. This is also where you can see the personal fable. I remember one time I was talking to, well, I won't tell the story, but The point is that with a personal fable, we think that because something really matters to us, it matters to everybody, and that our story is unique and wonderful because we are unique and wonderful, at least to ourselves. There are other things that are the result of this kind of physical brain development in adolescence that comes with puberty. This is a time where we've probably already mastered how we use our memories. But what we'll really start to master is the ability to make decisions, to use our minds in very specific and focused ways, what we'll call executive functioning. This is also the time where probably a lot of us will start to use a lot of critical thinking, looking at things and evaluating and creating and thinking of ideas that maybe other people haven't thought of before. We're not really locked into solutions that are like, this is what the teacher told us, so that's how to do it. But we're going to maybe think of other ways of doing it. And that's what we'll call good critical thinking. I employ critical thinking, or I require you to employ critical thinking. When I give quizzes, I ask for application, I ask for evaluation and integration of information. Those are critical thinking skills. And adolescence is the time to do that. Also, you can, if you remember back, whenever you looked at my little video for chapter 14 and I talked about moral reasoning, wasn't that chapter 14 or 13? I think it was 13 actually, with moral reasoning. You're going to see that adolescents are going to revisit this, and particularly adolescence is a time that will master that conventional reasoning. Will really overcome the ego kind of thinking, self-centeredness, and will actually sacrifice some things we want for what other people want. Now, many of us do that by doing things our friends want us to do just for the social capital we get from doing so. But that is actually a very good exercise because it teaches us to be a citizen of a larger society than we live in. I mean, that we do live in. And there's a lot of good things in your reading for this chapter concerning schools. And I would like to encourage you to think back of particularly the middle school and the high school years, and think about what worked and what didn't work. I think we, at least in this country, get in the habit of just saying, well, that's the way things are, and that's the way we'll do them. And, oh, this doesn't work, and nobody really seeks to change it. I think more and more you're going to see in your lifetime, maybe not in my lifetime, but in your lifetime, we're going to see some very dramatic changes in American education, the way we do things. There really is no reason to just have these 4 years of students just wandering the halls without a motivation, bored out of their minds, and all is about is just to be able to walk across the stage and get a high school diploma. For one, the high school diploma doesn't matter that much, because more and more most careers require college. But then also, there really isn't a reason for people to be bored. There's so much great stuff there in life for adolescents, and so we need to be able to plug into real career exploration, understanding ourselves and what are we good at and what do we want and what do we like and what are the parameters that we really enjoy our work and stuff like that. You can do that with kids who are 12 or 13, 14 years old in adolescence because of what we know the adolescent mind can do. So think about all that as you work through this chapter and read through chapter 15, and I hope you're having a great semester. Take care of yourselves, please, And I will see you for chapter 16, the last chapter in the book.